so we're getting ready to begin. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Super Screening Saturday. My name is Pamela Malval, and I'm the Deputy Director for the Professional Development Institute. Before we begin, we're gonna go ahead and do a little bit of housekeeping so we can get everybody situated with language and interpretation. So at this moment, my colleague Anna Sijek, the PDI Director, will guide those of you who prefer to listen into Spanish. And later on, I will also tell you about the Haitian Creole interpretation.
Thank you, Pamela, and good morning. Next slide, thank you. Les quiero decir a todos que hoy tenemos interpretación simultánea y lo que ofrecemos es en español y también en creol haitiano. En la parte abajo de su pantalla hay un botón que es un globito redondo y dice interpretation, interpretación en inglés. Si usted oprime ese botón, les pedimos que escojan Spanish, español, para poder entonces escuchar todo lo que se dice en otros idiomas, en inglés o en creol, lo van a escuchar ustedes en español. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you, Anna. So now we're going to go ahead and tell you a little bit in Haitian Creole. Bonjour tout le monde, bienvenue dans samedi évaluation tout le monde. N'a demandé nous si nous besoin écouter en créole. Malheureusement, dans bouton yo pas gen créole, mais li marqué français. Mais si ou cliquez petit bouton qui dit interprétation, ou ap attendre en créole. Donc si vous voulez aller écouter en créole, pesez petit bouton ça et puis vous êtes capable d'écouter nous en créole. Merci. Okay, so now that we are all situated,
Pamela, I'm sorry, Pamela, do we want to tell everyone who wants to also, if you are going to listen in English, go to the interpretation button and please select English. That way you will always be hearing everything that is being said in English. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Anna. So before we continue, I would like to point out that in your browser, you are able to access all the 7 sessions that we have prepared for you. You can enter each session by clicking join under the present, under each slide. So if you notice here, when you entered, you were in the lobby and you entered the main session. So now, if you click on sessions, this is where you will be able to join the other session. So you will be able to move from one session to the other as you would like. I will also like to mention, so for the Haitian Creole interpretation, if you would like to follow the ASQ in Haitian Creole, please go ahead and select the English session to join. And from there, you will be able to select interpretation and listening in Haitian Creole. The same will be for the seizure recognition and first aid session, where you will be able to listen in Haitian Creole. Thank you. All right, so welcome everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, educators and professionals, we would like to welcome you to a groundbreaking event, our Super Screening Saturday, brought to you by the Professional Development Institute in partnership with the Inclusion and Assessment Department. So today we have a lot of great sessions for you. This will be a game changer in how we approach screening and assessment in our educational practices. So today, as we embark on this journey of discovery and innovation, we will explore the latest strategies, the latest tools, and best practices in screening and assessment. So our plan is to equip you with the knowledge, the skills that you will need in able to identify and support the diverse needs of the learners in your classroom, and also ensuring that no one is left behind. So as we're diving into this workshop, I would like to welcome you. Welcome to Super Screening Saturday. Let's make today super. Now I will turn it over to Dr. Annabelle Espinosa, the Senior Director of Research and Evaluation.
Good morning, everyone. Ooh. I saw my picture on the screen and thought that my camera was off, so Good morning. I am incredibly excited to join you all today. As I'm looking at the chat, I can see all of your center names, your program names. I can see what county you're representing. And it's just filling up my heart. Many of you I've spoken to on the phone. Many of you have been in meetings where I've had the privilege to present. And so I'm very excited to be here today to talk to you about one of the things that I'm very passionate about, and that is developmental screenings and developmental milestones. So I'm sure you're asking yourselves, Super Screening Saturday, right? What is that? What's going to happen today? Am I getting screened? Who's screening? Is it a vision screening? Is it a health screening, a dental screening? I'm sure that many of you know exactly what we're talking about, but some of you still have questions, and we're going to answer those. But I wanted to start at the very beginning. Why are you here today? Why did you wake up and sign on at 8:30 in the morning with your coffee mug in your hands? So I know there's in-service hours, right? Sure, there's in-service hours, and there's even raffles, which are always exciting. I love to win things. But you're here for the same reason that I'm here. You're here because you love a child, or because you love many, many children. And these children, they may be your biological babies, or they may be the children that you care for. It may be a classroom full of children who spend most of their waking hours with you. You are here because you are an early educator. You are a mother. You are a father. You're a sister. You're a brother. You're an auntie. You're an abuela. You're a grandmama. You may be a grandmama. You are an adult in the life of a child, and you want to know more. You want to learn more. We all do. After all, you know that you help shape very important parts of that child's life and their future, no matter what role you take on, because that's your job. And whether you work at an early learning center, at a childcare program, in an early learning academy, whether you are in a VPK classroom, an infant room, or a toddler room, whether you are in a family childcare home or an after-school care program, whether you are in a PPEC or birth to two centers or primary learning centers. As you can see, there's so many different names for the places children learn and grow. You take on the responsibility of caring for a child and helping them grow. Did I miss anyone? So like I rattled off a list of places where you could possibly be working, but did I miss to represent anyone in the room right now? If I did, please add it to the chat, because I don't want to leave anyone out. My chat isn't opening up very quickly, but okay. So everyone I just named, you guessed it, is an early educator. We are all early educators, and because we know approximately how old a baby is by looking at the way they move their fingers or their toes. We know about how old a baby is by the sound of their giggle. We are early educators, and we know all the words to the itsy bitsy spider, right? And we can put our thumb and our pointer finger together with our eyes closed. And because we're early educators, we do not leave or enter a room that has children in it without counting all the little heads, right? So what do we know? We know babies, right? We know toddlers, we know preschoolers. We understand the way infants and young children learn and grow. That's child development, right? So this is like a read aloud, and I'm about to introduce a bunch of different vocabulary words. And many of them you already do. Maybe you just didn't use that word to describe it. So watching children learn and grow, that's all child development. And we spend a lot of time about it as early educators. We eat, live, and breathe child development. So today we're going to be talking about developmental screenings and other forms of early detection. We will talk about the importance of how early detection and early intervention has the power to change lives. I know that many of you know the ASQ and the ASQSC as part of your contract requirements for school readiness. But today we want you to know these tools as life-changing tools. I will start with the word developmental screenings because after all, this is Super Screening Saturday. So just like a health screening and a vision screening, a developmental screening is a scan. It's a snapshot. And it tells us how a child is developing. Remember that child development is all about how a child learns and grows. And typically we compare children to their siblings, to their friends, and to other children their age. And I know what you're thinking, but just in case I don't get it right, feel free to tell me in the chat. I know that we should not compare children to their siblings or their friends, right? Everybody is different. Everybody grows at a different pace. Everybody develops differently. But while that is true, we are all very alike. And the best way to know if a child's development is on track is by comparing them. So what do I mean when I say we're all very alike? Well, did you know that children who are deaf start to develop communication skills and babbling with their fingers around the same time that hearing babies start to babble? And that children around the world all start to walk around the same time. So those are the types of things that I mean when I say we are all very alike. With developmental screenings, there are established developmental milestones. And these have been developed by people who study children and child development much longer than I have. So these experts, physicians, psychologists, and doctors have created a timeline for each of these milestones. And as early educators, the more we know about developmental milestones, the more useful developmental screenings become. So developmental screening helps us observe the things a child is doing, like babbling, like giggling, like stacking, or pointing. And it'll help us make statements like, this child is exactly where they should be. After all, we're early educators and we know this. But developmental screenings can also help make recommendations, like we need to see someone with a better understanding of this, or we need another test. We need further evaluation. And I know that's something we don't always feel confident or comfortable saying. The results of developmental screening get families and educators talking. And whether a child is on track or in need of some more evaluations, we need to have this conversation. Why? Why do we need to have this conversation? Because we have to celebrate all of a child's milestones. The world is a cold, cold, dark place. So we're going to clap every time a baby stands up for the first time on their own. And because it's our job to identify, we will begin these processes for early detection. Early detection and early intervention. Think about early detection as the ability to identify something that may need your help or some extra support. Once you detect it, once you identify it, you can begin to address it and provide the support that is needed. The children we love and care for need us to know about early detection because noticing and immediately providing the needed supports can change the trajectory of a child's life. It doesn't matter if it's a speech delay or dyslexia, autism or epilepsy, ADHD, or hearing impairment. The sooner we notice, the sooner we can offer support. And the sooner we provide support, the more successful a child can be, not just in your classroom, but in their lives. So put your superhero cape on. I know you have one laying around, because an early educator means that you're changing lives. And so, like Pamela mentioned, we have a really amazing day planned for you. And without further ado, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the presenters that will be leading the sessions that you'll be joining. So first up, our partners at Citrus Health Network. They work closely with us and with you to provide support after a developmental screening is complete. The team at Citrus Network that I'm about to introduce to you will be the team facilitating the ASQ trainings in English and in Spanish. I'll start with Dr. Alexandra Alfonso. She has over 8 years experience working with infants and young children and their families. And she's been the clinical supervisor at Citrus Health Network for 2 years. Next is Melissa Lorenzo. Melissa has been working for over 15 years in the early childhood space, and she has a master's degree in special education and curriculum and instruction from Florida State University. And the third Citrus Health team member who will be facilitating sessions today is Dr. Marimer Ramos Pagan. She is a bilingual postdoctoral resident in early childhood development from Citrus Health Network. Thank you so much for joining us. So next up are presenters from the Epilepsy Alliance. We are happy to welcome Amaya Banks and Luis Moreno, who will be facilitating the seizure response and recognition trainings. Amaya is the Epilepsy Programs Manager at Epilepsy Alliance Florida, and she is responsible for disseminating resources and information statewide regarding epilepsy awareness, seizure first aid, which is exactly what she's doing today. And Luis is the Community Resource Specialist at the Epilepsy Alliance. He is responsible for sharing the trainings just like this one with the community, in person and virtually, at organizations, at schools, health fairs, and all over our community to educate and teach about epilepsy and how children and adults can live healthy, normal lives. Luis will be facilitating the seizure response and recognition training in Spanish, while Amaya Banks will be facilitating the seizure recognition training in English. Welcome to both of you. Next up, we have our inclusion screening and assessment team, members of our inclusion screening and assessment team here at the coalition. And Eileen Swazel and Ladici Tavares are very special to this session because they lead our screening and compliance work. Many of you may already know them and recognize their faces. They will be in the sessions that you'll be joining today, providing support to both the Citrus Health team in English and in Spanish. After our training sessions, we will be hosting a panel discussion titled Two Truths and a Lie. Our panel experts will identify myths and counter these with truths about developmental screening, dyslexia, and early intervention. You don't want to miss this. All of the doubts you've ever had about screening, about special education, about early intervention, labels, all of those fears that you probably have will be addressed during our panel discussion. So please don't hesitate to join after the sessions. So I will introduce to you briefly our panelists. I'll start off with Dr. Jantina Clifford and Ms. Liz Twomley. They will be talking to us about developmental screening. They are co-authors to much of the materials that has been produced by Ages and Stages questionnaires. Dr. Jantina Clifford co-authored the ASQ3, and Ms. Liz Twomley is the lead author on the ASQ3 and ASQ SE2 learning activities. They both provide training and professional development all around the country to diverse groups on how to use the tool. They are joining us from California, and we're really excited to have them with us. Our next panelist will be Sandra Bermudez, and she is the president and CEO of the Lucy Project. She is not only the CEO and president of this organization, but she has also been the one to bring the dream of this organization to life on behalf of her daughter. And our last panelist is Ms. Christina Smith. Ms. Christina Smith is wears many hats, much like our other panelists, and she partners with organizations all around Hillsborough County, like Early Steps, Child Find, and the Children's Board. She is one of 2 Florida ambassadors for the CDC's Learn the Signs, Act Early initiative. And you may ask, what makes Christina such a superstar? Well, Christina not only has 2 children with disabilities, she is an early interventionist with over 10 years of experience in the early education classroom, so classrooms just like yours, and she is on track to complete her behavior analyst board certification. And so you don't want to miss our panel discussion. And just to one more time give you a rundown of what the agenda will look like, or what the day will look like.